What's up YouTube, Saf here on Super Saf TV, and in this video I'm going to be comparing the specs of the Samsung Galaxy S5 to the Samsung Galaxy S4. So the Samsung Galaxy S5 has been heavily rumoured and anticipated, and it's finally become official today after the Unpacked event from Samsung, and it's boasting lots of improvements to the Samsung Galaxy S4. But what's different between these two devices, and how much has it improved from the Samsung Galaxy S4? Well, do hit that thumbs up button and let's find out in this head-to-head spec comparison. So let's start off with the size. There is a difference in size between these two. The Samsung Galaxy S5 is actually larger than the Samsung Galaxy S4, roughly about 5.4mm in terms of height, 2.7mm in terms of width, and it's also 0.2mm thicker. So this is kind of going against what Samsung usually do with their newer devices. They're usually smaller with a similar size screen, but the Samsung Galaxy S5 is slightly larger than the Samsung Galaxy S4. Not hugely, but it is slightly larger, and that's because it does have a larger screen. So it's got a 5.1 inch screen compared to a 5-inch screen on the Samsung Galaxy S4. The resolution is also the same, so you've got Full HD 1080p, so 1920 by 1080 pixels. Now in terms of the pixel density, the Samsung Galaxy S4, because it's a smaller screen and you've got the same amount of pixels, you're looking at 441 ppi on the Samsung Galaxy S4. On the Samsung Galaxy S5, you're looking at 432 pixels per inch. So you've got a lower pixel density on the Samsung Galaxy S5. This shouldn't be a big deal really, because there's a very little difference in between these two, but the S4 does have a higher pixel density. Now pretty much all the rumours were pointing towards a 1440p screen, so that's what's referred to as a 2K screen on the Samsung Galaxy S5. But this is not the case. They have stuck to a 1080p screen. Now this is not bad in any way. This pixel density is still very high. You're not going to have any problems with such a high pixel density, so there's nothing to worry about there. It's just not crazy high like some of the rumours were suggesting. Now moving on to the build, the Samsung Galaxy S4, one of the biggest downsides of it was the build. It has the polycarbonate plastic, the glossy plastic finish, which a lot of people didn't like. It made the device look and feel quite cheap compared to lots of other devices out there. Now with the Samsung Galaxy S5, they've aimed to improve that. So you've got a perforated back, so it's a dotted soft touch plastic finish. Now this looks very similar to the Google Nexus 7 2012 edition, so the first Google Nexus 7 if you remember that. Now with this, it's supposed to be grippy and very comfortable to hold, and if you're going to put it on a table or something, it's not going to slide off or anything like that. How does it look? Well, I don't think it looks that much more premium compared to the Samsung Galaxy S4. That's my opinion. I would have preferred something a little bit more premium looking. I'm not sure what everyone else's opinions will be on that, but it's supposed to feel a lot more premium compared to the Samsung Galaxy S4. Now the other thing that they've done with the Samsung Galaxy S5 is that it's now IP67 certified, water and dust resistant. So they've taken a page from Sony's book and made their flagship water and dust resistant, so you're not going to have any problems getting some water on this. They did specify that it's not waterproof, so you can't be putting it into water for too long, but if you do get some water on it, that's not going to be a problem, and that is quite nice to see. Now because of the larger size, the different build, as well as the water and dust resistance, the Samsung Galaxy S5 does weigh more than the S4, 15 grams more, so it is slightly heavier. I'm not sure if that's going to be much of a problem for many people. 15 grams isn't too much, but it is heavier than the Samsung Galaxy S4. Now moving on to the internals, the Samsung Galaxy S4 has a 1.9 GHz quad-core processor. The S5 now has an improvement on that with a 2.5 GHz quad-core processor. So you've got a very fast processor on the Samsung Galaxy S5, and the Samsung Galaxy devices usually do have some of the best specs out there. The Samsung Galaxy S4 did also have an octa-core version for the international markets. There's no sign of this on the Samsung Galaxy S5, not at the moment anyway. We may be seeing something like this soon. In terms of the RAM, both of these have 2GB of RAM, so you've not got an improvement in terms of the RAM here. Now you don't necessarily need too much RAM on your smartphone, but it is good for multitasking and things. I was expecting 3GB like the Note 3, but they've kept that to 2GB. Not a huge deal here. In terms of the different storage versions available, the S4 came in 16, 32, and you also had a limited 64GB version as well. With the Samsung Galaxy S5, you've only got the 16 and 32GB versions, so they're not going to have a 64GB version. Both of these do have expandable storage, so Samsung have continued that over onto the Samsung Galaxy S5. Micro SD up to 64GB. Now this is something that's great on Samsung devices, having that expandable storage, especially if you're going to be storing lots of video and images on your smartphone. Now the cameras, there's been some big improvements. The Samsung Galaxy S4 has a 13 megapixel camera. Now it's an absolutely great camera. I've done lots of comparisons on the channel which you can check out, and it performed really well. One of the best smartphone cameras of 2013, I would say. The Samsung Galaxy S5 improves on this. You've now got a 16 megapixel camera, so you've got more megapixels, and it's a larger sensor as well. Now they've really updated the hardware, so you've got lots of new features. Fast autofocus is the first feature on here, and it uses phase detection autofocus, which is similar to a DSLR, so that's absolutely great to see. Samsung is saying that you can focus in 0.3 seconds, so very, very fast autofocusing. And you've also got real-time HDR, so you can see what the HDR image is going to look like straight on your screen before you actually take it. Traditionally, you take an image and then it processes it in HDR, but you've got real-time HDR in images as well as video, which is another great feature on the Samsung Galaxy S5. And finally, you've also got selective focus. Now this is similar to some of the Lumia models, where after you've taken an image, you can blur out the background to make it look more like a DSLR. So that's another interesting software feature on the Samsung Galaxy S5. Now once we've got the Samsung Galaxy S5 in-house, we will be doing a side-by-side comparison in the usual style, so do make sure that you're subscribed to see that first. Now video, we've got some improvements. You had 1080p at 30 frames a second on the Samsung Galaxy S4. On the Samsung Galaxy S5, you've got 1080p at 60 frames a second, and you've also got 4K video Ultra HD at 30 frames a second, so that's at 2160p. So now that's similar to the Samsung Galaxy Note 3, and this was kind of expected, having 4K video on your smartphone. No huge improvements to the front-facing camera. You've got a 2.1 megapixel front-facing camera on the Samsung Galaxy S5 compared to the 2 megapixel front-facing camera. Both do 1080p, so it is good to see 1080p, but no major improvements here in terms of the front-facing camera on the Samsung Galaxy S5. You do have USB 3 compared to USB 2, so micro USB 3 on the Samsung Galaxy S5. Now this is going to allow faster data transfer speeds, and it's also going to allow faster charging if you've connected it to your computer. So this is something we are expecting because it is on the Samsung Galaxy Note 3. Now moving on in terms of some of the additional features that you've got on the Samsung Galaxy S5. Firstly, you've got Wi-Fi MIMO technology, so this is going to allow faster Wi-Fi on the Samsung Galaxy S5. You've also got Download Booster, which Samsung is saying is going to allow 1 GB over 30 seconds, which is very impressive. And one key feature that the Samsung Galaxy S5 now offers is a fingerprint scanner on the home button. Now this doesn't work like the iPhone 5S, so it's not just touch, you do have to swipe. We'll have to see this hands-on. So far the reports are looking mixed right now in terms of how well it works. You can do payments via PayPal, so they have integrated it with PayPal, which is nice to see. And you've also got a protective mode on the Samsung Galaxy S5, so if you swipe your finger, there's certain areas, certain image albums and things that only you'll be able to access once you swiped your finger. And finally, you've got a heart rate monitor as well, so if you put your finger just beneath the camera on the Samsung Galaxy S5, it's actually gonna measure your heart rate. So this is to integrate with the S Health app, which is more advanced now compared to the Samsung Galaxy S4. Now moving on to the operating systems, so both of these are running Android, but the Samsung Galaxy S4 is currently on Android 4.3 Jelly Bean. The Samsung Galaxy S5 is going to come out of the box with Android 4.4.2 KitKat, so you're going to get the latest version of Android, and both of these have TouchWiz, but the Samsung Galaxy S5 has an updated version of TouchWiz. It's more of a flat and more of a clean look compared to TouchWiz on the Samsung Galaxy S4. Now I'm assuming that they will be rolling this out onto the S4 soon. I don't know how soon, but it would make sense for them to roll the newer version of TouchWiz onto the Samsung Galaxy S4. Now moving into the battery, you've got a 2800 mAh battery on the Samsung Galaxy S5 compared to a 2600 mAh battery on the Samsung Galaxy S4. Now the S4 battery wasn't bad. If you're a light to medium user, it would get you through the day, but if you're a medium to heavy user, then you would struggle. But Samsung is saying with the S5, you've got 20% better stamina, and it's going to last you with 10 hours of web browsing or up to 12 hours of video playback, which sounds very, very good. Now we're going to have to see this hands-on. You've also got ultra power saving mode on the Samsung Galaxy S5. Now this is an extension to the original power saving mode, and that's really going to let you extend your battery life by switching to black and white as well. So really switching off everything else and going into black and white if you need that little bit more battery life. If you're out and about, you're not going to be near a charger, and you still want to remain contactable. Now finally, looking at the price, the Samsung Galaxy S4 has dropped in price as expected. You're looking at $500 right now for the 16 gig version off contract, or roughly about £350 here in the UK. This may also drop further now that the Samsung Galaxy S5 is out. The Samsung Galaxy S5, there's no confirmed pricing as yet. I would expect it to be between £600 to £650 here in the UK, or between $700 to $750 in the US. That's off contract. That's the standard flagship price that you can expect for a Samsung device, so I'd be definitely expecting it to be around that price. So there we go, those were the key differences between the Samsung Galaxy S4 and the Samsung Galaxy S5. Is it worth an upgrade? I wouldn't say it's worth an upgrade from the S4. If you're coming from the S3, then maybe it is worth upgrading to the Samsung Galaxy S5. There are lots of improvements here on the Samsung Galaxy S5, such as the camera and the fact that it's water and dust resistant as well, and the internals have also been upgraded. But what do you think? Is there enough here? Is there enough improvements? What do you think of the Samsung Galaxy S5? Do drop me a comment below and let me know your thoughts. As soon as the S5 is in-house, we're going to have a full hands-on review, camera comparison and all sorts, as we usually do on this channel. So do make sure that you are subscribed to see those first. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it useful. If you did, as always, please do hit that thumbs up button for me. It really does help me out. Thanks for watching. This is Saf on Super Saf TV, and I'll see you next time. If you want to see more regular videos like this one, then be sure to hit the subscribe button, which will be below. If you're on a mobile device, it may be somewhere else. If you want to see my previous related video, then hit the link right here. If you want to stay in touch over Facebook, Twitter and Google+, then all of the addresses will be there somewhere, as well as direct links in the description below. Okay, if you're still watching, then that means you've not done one of those things, so, you know. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just gonna go downstairs. See. Okay. There isn't really a downstairs. Anyway, so yeah.